You're a little breaking up, I guess.
Okay. It's terrible to experience that, unfortunately, but I've just okay. Sujit, let's wait for Sujit. And a kind request to all the panelists: when you're not speaking, please put it on mute. Thank you.
Alan, I'm in.
Bro, thank you so much. Right. So let's still wait. I think people are still trying to log in, and some are having a bit of an issue. So let's give it a minute or so, and then kick off. Yes. Session, I think. Barangan. Stop. Stop. Right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our National Cybersecurity Week 2020. We're here on the 7th day of this week, and today's session is a panel discussion that is about to start. Do want to remind all the viewers that this is live telecasted on POTV, thanks to SLT, and also live on our Facebook channel and also on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. So with that, let me take you into today's session. Pandemic, the new cyber norm is our theme for this year. And we're here to talk to you about challenges faced during COVID-19 period in Sri Lanka. Now, this is a very much interesting topic, and we've got 4 eminent panelists over here. And I would be the moderator. My name, an information security engineer from Sri Lanka CERT. So firstly, let me take my time to introduce the panelists to you guys. So we've got Loshan Vikramasekara from the FinCERT, who's a manager of FinCERT. He holds over 9 years of experience in the field of information security. He's also a board member of ISACA Sri Lanka chapter and an active contributor to the community. He holds honors in BNC from SLIT and MSc from UCSC, and he has numerous other certifications such as CDPSC, CRISC, CSIM, CISA, CEH, ISO 27000, and CDPSI. He has worked closely with local and international CERTs, regulatory bodies of Sri Lanka, and over 50 other companies. And so we welcome you, Loshan. Thank you so much for being part. So let me introduce our second panelist for today. I know it's taking a bit time, but it's important that I introduce them. Mr. G.M. Neil Gunadasa. He joined Sri Lanka Education Administrative Service in 1988. His spectrum of service reflected in many areas such as Deputy Principal, Assistant Director of Education in Nuwa, Sabragamua Provincial Education Department, and a Deputy Director of Education at the Ministry of Education. Since 2006 till present, a designation he performed in the field of ITT as the Director of Education and the Director of Education in the Ministry of Education, where many milestones were reached in his career. Nationally and internationally awarded E-Taksalava, the National Learning Content Management System, is one of his brain children. One of his key responsibilities in implementing the National Education Management Information System, which addresses the preparation of data and information on the education system. Under this system, he established the teacher, human resource management system, and drives national students information systems that leads to the establishment of a database of the entire student population, which is to be completed by the end of 2020. Mr. Gunadasa has been awarded BSc degree from the University of California, a postgraduate diploma in education management from Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardenepura, a postgraduate diploma in education from University of Colombo, a postgraduate diploma in education management from National Institute of Education, Maharagama, and an MSc in information management from the University of Sheffield, United Kingdom. So with that introduction, let me welcome you once again, Mr. Neil Gunadasa. I've got two more prominent speakers again. Sujit Christie is a passionate cybersecurity adoption evangelist and serves as a CISO in several organizations and board member of ISACA chapter and IC Square chapter. He currently serves in several review committees for cybersecurity policies initiated by the government of Sri Lanka. Sujit is a founder member, the charter secretary and past president of IC Square Chennai chapter. He was also instrumental in the foundation of IC Square chapter, Sri Lankan chapter. Sujit is a CISSP, CISA, and CRASE, and a certified IT digital recovery professional and holds a diploma in cyber law. Sujit is a recipient of the 2013 IC Square President Award, first person to receive award from the SAARC region, and honors in the Information Security Practitioner category for information security leadership achievements in the Asia-Pacific region. Sujit, we welcome you once again. Thanks for being with us. And finally, we've got Anand Patel, Director, System Engineering Sales, Cisco India. Anand is the Director, System Engineer for Cisco India. In his role, he leads as a pre-sale team responsible for solution and architect design across the country. This is his second stint in Cisco, having worked here previously for 11 years in various capacities. Anand prior experience include leadership role with global technology companies such as Microsoft and VMware. Anand is an avid runner and a fitness enthusiast and likes to play squash and tennis in his spare time. Interesting. He also likes rock music and reading books. Anand has an MS in electrical engineering from Case Western Reserve University, Ohio, and a BSc in electronics and telecommunication from Maharashtra Institute of Technology, Pune. So that is the introduction to our fellow panelists. So with that, let's kick off today's session. So our topic for today, once again, just to remind all of you, is about COVID-19 challenges faced in Sri Lanka. So what we have seen is that we've been experiencing in Sri Lanka in particular, we are facing the second wave of COVID-19, and we've had a massive impact in our society, in our businesses, and most of things have been on standstill. But lucky to our health sector who are working tirelessly to get the situation back to normal. Now, what we also understand is that this situation has set a platform for the cyber criminals. I mean, things have been easy for them since most of us are connected from home, working from home, and during the lockdown period, we've got nothing but to be on the internet. So we've seen the rise of the incidents. Looking from a Sri Lankan CERT perspective, as we know that many incidents do get reported to us, looking some of the statistics, now we've had around, in 2019, we've had around, in total, around 5,000 incidents that has been reported. But taking this COVID period, somewhere between March to June, we've had over 4,500 incidents which has been reported. Now that is a staggering figure. Now this sort of incidents include like scams, mainly targeting our general public, email frauds, which has been an issue for most businesses that we've seen, a phishing attack. I mean, this has been from right from the beginning, phishing and social media, things like accounts being compromised, fake accounts being created, hate speech, so on and so forth. Now, these sort of incidents have risen up to 4,500, and what we have been doing is trying to assist our constituents by providing technical support via emails and calls. I also would like to reflect about a few other things that happen in the world. For example, some of the major attacks that we've seen during the pandemic. One is Twitter attack. Now, all of us are aware of this. On the July 15th, some of the prominent celebrities, so business executive companies, I mean, Twitter accounts were taken over by a youngster, a 17-year-old who got arrested in Florida. Now, we've seen a lot of this. For example, namely Barack Obama. We've had Bill Gates, Kanye West. A lot of people's accounts being compromised, and people were asked to send bitcoins to their accounts. And also, we cannot forget the in June 2020, we've had Honda announced that its customer service has been experiencing technical difficulties, but then later on they admitted that they've had experiencing cyber attacks. Now that is around the globe. So things have not been easy, certainly, for companies or individuals, as we're trying to fight against the disease. And on the other hand, the attackers are trying to be smart in achieving their goals. I want the audience so I want to pose out a question to our panelists today. To start off this, I can give each of you around 3 minutes. So let's start with Loshan. So I want you to talk to us about how things have been in your industry, what you have seen, the good and bad. And yeah, if you can just talk through us. Thank you. Loshan, cannot hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry. So looking at what is FinCZ first. So FinCZ is basically for the financial sector, Central Bank, Sri Lanka CERT and Sri Lankan Bankers Association initiated this project to help the sector as well as its members to ensure like the cybersecurity development, strengthening, and assistance is provided. So looking at the financial sector as a whole, as soon as so in February, March, when the pandemic was rising up, it was really difficult because if you understand, okay, banks and finance companies has almost thousands of employees and their processes are not fine-tuned very much for the remote working environment, and it is relatively new concept for everyone apart from the vendors actually. So they're anyway trying to connect remotely, and only few banks have allowed it as only permitted for the necessary vendors. So it's actually relatively new, and they had a lot in the back end as well as in the front ends to ensure, develop, deploy, and a lot of issues were there. And since it is a new concept, every tool and technology that is involved, the security has to be one of the top priorities they had to address. So it was relatively tough, as well as with the help of, I remember, okay, from Sri Lanka CERT as well as from FinCZ, we have been disseminating the best practices as well as the VPN configurations, secure configurations that is they need to adhere to, as well as best practices that they on the employee side as well as who's connecting on the VPNs to the banks and finance companies. We have been engaging with the financial sector actively during the pandemic days as well as now to ensure that anything that is required from our side is assisted, as well as any incident that is identified and taken place is promptly attended to, and the risk and the impact gets minimized. So that's basically what's actually the financial sector's status.
Thank you for that introduction. Now moving on to Anand Patel. Can you give us also a quick intro about what you've seen in the industry, the good and bad, and how things have been to Cisco? Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. And first of all, let me start by thanking you for having me here with all the eminent panelists. It's great to be here, although I would have preferred to be in Sri Lanka, in Colombo in person, one of my favorite cities to travel to. But here we are in my best work from home attire, which typically includes a pair of shorts, but that's for another day. Um, if you go think back and go back to maybe January or February, and you talk to a lot of companies, all of the organizations that I've spoken to, none of them actually had pandemic written as a part of their business continuity plans. And that was the real challenge that we were facing, and Cisco was no different. So I'll offer you three perspectives. The first one is Cisco internal itself. While being a technology company, we always had a flexibility to work from home at any given point in time. When we went into a lockdown situation, we had the challenge of moving almost 100% of our 70,000 employees and 70,000 extended workforce to working from home and being productive. So the Cisco IT team actually did a fantastic job in enabling this overnight. As you could imagine, this involved beefing up of capacities from a VPN perspective, the security systems on the WebEx side. But more than that, it was about policies. It was about ensuring a consistent experience. And how do they, for example, service me if I have a problem with my laptop while I'm working from home? What the Cisco IT team has done today is actually they've compiled all of their experiences over the last 6 months into a bit of a best practices document, and they actually have they have enabled a lot of our customers to share all of these experiences. So I'd offer anybody who's interested to reach out, and we can get that done as well. I mean, it's a great exchange of ideas and learnings over the last 6 months from an IT perspective. Of course, we are in a somber mood. What also happened at that point in time was that a lot of our customers obviously were not that prepared for this situation as well. And at that point in time, what we did as a company was we rolled out a lot of free offers for our security and our WebEx platforms. So in Sri Lanka alone, we had about 10,000 odd free licenses that we offered to our customers and implemented them of our WebEx platform, collaboration, VPN, AnyConnect, as well as umbrella security platforms, to enable work from home and remote work for our customers. And that was about 6-7 months ago. If you think about the experience of the last 6 or 7 months, it's been tremendous for everyone. And I think if we take a look back, a lot of the organizations are now trying to think, what can I take from this experience and start to apply so that the next time I hit a situation like this, I don't have to struggle. I don't have to go through the same experience. So we're seeing a few, I guess, trends from a technology point of view and a work point of view. The first one I'll talk about is hybrid work. Now, depending upon the industry and depending upon the kind of organization you talk to, they have varying views. Some might say, I will have only 20% of my people working from home. The others actually go the other way and say, I'll have only 20% of my people in the office. So the technology plays a huge role in that, to be able to enable that. But there is some form of hybrid work everywhere. And when you talk about hybrid work, the home becomes the home base for everything. It's not just about work, but it's also about shopping, going off to healthcare, even learning. I do, my classes with my gym trainer every day online. I learn the guitar online. So everything's gone online when I'm working from home. So that gives a lot of opportunity to businesses like e-commerce. For example, in Sri Lanka, the e-commerce industry since the beginning of the year has grown by 2.5 times. In fact, it is predicted that the online retail in Sri Lanka is set to grow from $90 million US today to about $500 million US in the next 5 to 6 years. Financial institutions are offering online payment gateways. The government is offering a lot of online citizen services. So needless to say, everything is moving online. And what that leads us to is the second part of it, which is around digitization. And if you think about business models and what industries are thinking, organizations are thinking about business models, there are two learnings out of this. The first one was hybrid learning, this hybrid work. The second one is actually about agility. And I come to a famous example that I quote in most discussions like this, which is about an alcohol distillery, which was doing roaring business before the lockdown. But come the lockdown, the alcohol sales went to zero, and they were stuck with a huge amount of what was essentially ethyl alcohol in their tanks. So they quickly switched over and started manufacturing hand sanitizer, which started selling like hotcakes. So the point that I'm trying to make is there's a realization that your business has to be a lot more agile. You have to be able to take decisions and implement them at the drop of a hat. That's giving rise to things like automation, Industry 4.0, robotics, artificial intelligence, application of machine learning, and so on and so forth. In fact, I see that as a great opportunity for Sri Lanka's apparel industry and the manufacturing industry at large, which is responsible for a majority of the exports, to be able to increase output efficiently and reduce costs at the same time. And the last trend that I'll talk about is cybersecurity. You spoke about it. I was an indirect victim of it. I have a Garmin watch that I use to track my fitness regime, and obviously Garmin was one of the companies affected by ransomware, so I didn't get updates on my watch for about 3 days, which is okay. Things are back to normal now. But that just shows you how vulnerable we all are in this online world, and how susceptible every organization is. So obviously, there is a huge amount of focus on cybersecurity from everywhere, from all corners. McAfee actually did a study which said that for the last 4 quarters, the amount of malware has increased by 1,900%. Sri Lanka alone, according to the Microsoft Security Intelligence Report, has on an average about 109% more malware than the rest of the world. So imagine what that impact has been on Sri Lanka. You actually talked about it, Dalan, in your introduction. So I think those are the kind of trends that we're seeing in the market. While there is challenge on one side, there's also opportunity for businesses on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anand Patel, for this lovely introduction. Let me move on to Mr. Neil Gunadasa, if you would like to share your views on what you've seen in the industry of education. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity from the CSW Sri Lanka. If my memory serves me right, in 2016, October 20th, we have started with the Sri Lanka CERT and ICT, Information Communication Technology Agency, to establish the EduCert set up in the education system. So with that, we have selected 10 teachers from each zone, and then we have trained them through the SSCERT and the ICTA on cybersecurity. For that, we have given them the comprehensive training. In fact, we didn't have an idea about this type of pandemic situation, but those days we thought of giving that cybersecurity awareness for the students to the teachers based on the understanding that this will be one of the major areas in future. So make aware about the students and teachers. So with that, we managed to train them, nearly about 1,000 teachers in the country as a master trainers. And then with that, with the district trainers, we have trained the school teachers, ICT teachers, as a focal point to provide this training. I can share this training materials with you if you allow me to share this.
Mr. Neil, if I experience any technical issues, please
Yeah,
go
sure.
ahead. It's okay. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
this now the cover page Tamil page is uploading.
Okay.
So we have prepared the lesson content materials for Tamil medium teachers as well as the Sinhala medium teachers. With these contents, we have managed to train the major schools. We have school course, senior schools, junior school, primary schools. Mainly, we focus the junior schools and the senior schools in this case. So we managed to train them through this training program. So after that, what we did was we have established the school ICT societies in the country on the most of the senior schools and junior schools. With this training program, we empower the students to the ICT societies in the school, saying that the things that you are very much need to careful when you are surfing the web and working with the internet in the school level teaching and learning process. At the same time, after that, what we did was we worked with the private sector organization and NGOs like UNICEF, and with that we managed to prepare the online teaching materials and online video clips and published through the e-Taksalava learning content management system for the students to be followed. So most of the students now these days they are using this content to and to get some understanding about the safety when we are using the internet because of these days we are mostly using the online facilities for teaching and learning process. So these type of materials, while we are producing this type of materials to the students and providing the materials during this period, we have identified that some teachers they are using the other materials of different type of materials and different type of media to disseminate the lessons during this period. So mostly what we are doing is we have still, although we have this type of current the pandemic situation, we have connection with the principals and the respective zonal education officers and the provincial department of education. So through that we have maintained a very good network to all with all teachers, and so we make aware the teachers to the principals and the officials in the departments to use the internet very carefully. And also in Sri Lanka we have computer resource centers, one in each zone, where this place is located to provide the knowledge and the expertise to the respective zone in the teachers and the students in the respective zone. So with this zonal resource centers, we provide these days we are very much concerned about providing the cyber security knowledge and information through the webinars. So we have done several video conferences with the provincial coordinators and the zonal coordinators to make these staff aware on the cyber security and the problem of understanding of the issues that you can face when you are using the internet. So having said that, Ministry of Education has seriously understand about the current situation, and we are thinking of getting the new this type of pandemics in future. So therefore, Ministry of Education reforms planning to pay a special attention in future to make aware the entire citizen and the parents and the students in the country in order to get their knowledge uplifted. So I think during this period, Ministry of Education has taken several actions to the ICT teachers and the other network that we have already established with the ICT branch of the Ministry of Education. And I think we didn't get that much of serious problems during this period, although we have used massive internet content and online facilities. So I think that is the main reason that we didn't have that much of big issues during the period, because the Ministry of Education has taken the precautions way back in 2016 to face this type of situation.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have Sujit Christie, Group CISO of John Keels. So what is your thoughts?
Alan, first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. And I also want to thank Sri Lanka sir for this great initiative. And how many years is this? Well,
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
yeah. How many years have we done this CSW now?
Right. I should say this is the 13th year.
13th year without a break, in spite of the lockdowns, in spite of police curfews, you may call it, but we've done it, right? And I've been part of all these 13 years. It's a great event and a great platform which has created and enabled the cybersecurity professionals, and also been a platform where it has provided a learning opportunity for the organizations. As we heard from my fellow panelists, interesting times, right? And I'm sure for a lot of organizations across the world, this probably came in as a surprise. And I remember Roshan mentioned, like, I'm not sure who did, but pandemic was probably not listed as a business continuity item. But one of the things which I have seen in places where I'm working along with different organizations, we had definitely had one line item which said, if staff are not able to get into the office, but at that point in time, our primary focus was if there was a curfew, and if people can't get into the office, how do we continue? Right. So that's one thing which we definitely had in our plans. Number two, being part of the large organization, the largest in Sri Lanka, we've had great visionaries in the senior management, right? And I must mention Ramesh Amman. His thoughts, his vision for technology landscape. I remember 2012, 2013, he actually was speaking about cloud first. And that was the time people were still talking about cloud at the initial stage. But he said, okay, we should be going cloud first, mobile first. So a lot of things had actually translated from a strategy to action on the ground when this particular incident took place in March. So for us, we have two aspects. Like Cisco, we have two aspects, right? So one internal, one, then the other one is the customer facing. So the internal staff were able to seamlessly switch over. Of course, there were few challenges here and there. I won't say it was a perfect situation, but we did experience that. But we were able to seamlessly move. But then there were industries which were customer facing, where we also encountered challenges. But that didn't stop us from, saying, okay, we can't do this, because a lot of things are dependent on business logic or business dynamics. Right? You have a need, like Anand gave a classic example, right, in terms of ethanol. You can't produce liquor, you need to do something else. And for us, it was the same case, right? So our demands, our needs to certain segments were at a particular level, so we were meeting them. But then the sudden surge made us go back to the drawing table and ask ourselves, what do we need to do? If you really look at, for example, if you look at the Super website or the online shopping, we have transformed. We transformed exponentially. Right? And today, it gives a better user experience. But our older version was to cater to a certain segment, a limited segment. But today, we are able to cater to a larger group of people. But I guess if you look at the industry as a whole, not only just Sri Lanka, but elsewhere, the biggest challenge for a CISO was, I probably would say, fortify the boundaries, keep the users inside the boundary, protect the identity, protect the devices. And we probably could count the number of people who were outside the organization. And then we could actually focus on them and say, hey guys, this is what we need to do for the roaming users or mobile users. But COVID-19 transformed everything overnight. Right? So by frontline, which happened to be my firewall, took a back seat. Now every single employee, every single user had to be protected. So in other words, they became the frontline defense for the organization. Right? So from a perimeter device, now we are talking about a moving target which needed to be protected, and they also had to protect the organization's infrastructure. Right? So for us, again, it was seamless because we were working with some great partners. I would say one of them is here on the panel, Cisco. Their technologies also helped us to build a defense in depth. So while we look at multiple defense mechanisms, the biggest challenge for us was to look at every single alert which we saw as a threat, validate and treat it. It was, if I were to put it in the medical terms, contact tracing. Every single incident had to be traced and treated. And how swiftly can we do that was our challenge. And I think my team, our partners, all of them came together to meet the demands, meet the needs of incident management. Now let me step out of my role from the CISO as a professional who work with professional bodies. I was instrumental in developing and delivering the safe and secure online program for IC2, both in India and Sri Lanka. The objective for us at that point in time, I'm talking about again 2012, was to ensure that the cybersecurity awareness is taken to schools, taken to the teachers, taken to parents, taken to the senior citizens. And I'm sure at that point in time, we never saw this coming, but our only vision at that point in time is the number of people who would use technology would grow exponentially, and the threat landscape would grow exponentially. So how do we ensure that we give the adequate education to people so that they know how to use technology in a safe and secure manner? So we did that. And I think Sri Lanka CERT is also doing a great job in taking that initiative, working with the Ministry of Education and various other organizations, and propagating that knowledge to the industry is also happening. Then also, IC2 and ISAC are also focusing a lot in terms of providing opportunities, providing education for the women to be in this segment. Unfortunately, we don't have a lady in this panel, but I would have loved to have one of them. I'm sure in the future we would. Right? So there's a lot of emphasis, and IC2 for that matter has a lot of scholarship for women to pursue cybersecurity as a career. And IC2 also has other scholarships for other young graduates, right? If they want to pursue a degree program, they can apply for a scholarship. If they want to pursue a master's program, there are scholarships available. So I think a lot of people, a lot of organizations, professional bodies, tech companies are all coming together, trying to provide that required knowledge is available for the citizens. And so there are a whole lot of things which are happening. And I think this will transform from what we are to a much more secure society going forward. That and over to you.
Thank you so much, Sajid Christie. Now, we've had the views of the panelists. Now we've got, I would say, from different industry, we have 4 different people. We've got a vendor, we've got someone from the education ministry, education sector. We've got someone from the industry, John Keels, a blue chip company, and then we have Loshan from Financial Cert. Now, all of you have shared your views in terms of how things have shaped up and also how businesses have been prepared or not. Particularly, Loshan, I want to ask you now. What you said was, now some of the banks have not been prepared. Now, as we know that I think even Sujit did touch on business continuity, and also Mr. Anand Patel. Now, as we know that business continuity is very important, I think it's something that every organization should have in order to survive in difficult situations. So do you think, were most of the bank prepared for this? Did they have a plan in place? or what was the situation?
Yeah. So as Sujit was explaining now, everyone has a sort of a curfew-oriented plan for the as a BCP, but the problem is actually the entire country was in a lockdown. So that sort of an environment, no one was actually prepared. So that's where the main concern came in, and as well, it was very fast. Like within a month or so, or else within weeks, they had to prepare themselves as organizations, finance, bank, primary dealers, themselves as an organization, as well as the employees have to adapt as well, because like issuing of laptops to anything that is mobile or even connecting via their personal devices, it was I would say not very hands-on prepared drill in a real life environment. So there were a lot of difficulties, but yes, they were somewhat prepared. Mostly the IT departments, they have enabled their remote connections, but that's also for limited licenses. So yes, for curfew situations, they were prepared, but not for a entire country-wide lockdown, I would say.
Right.
So
Thank you.
they had a lot of difficulties.
Thanks for your view on that. And Anand Patel, now what I want to ask you is that remote connection was important because most of us were connected working from home. So the platforms available, there are platforms out there, but WebEx is one from Cisco that has been provided. And yes, thanks to Cisco for providing free trials. I mean, we were given free trials for probably 6 months. So thank you for that. But we also hear on the other side about zero-day attack, which is always a fear for vendors and for security practitioners out there because we never know what can go wrong at any time. Let's say that we've also heard on, for example, we did issue a few alerts when there were a few vulnerabilities that was pointed out in a zero-day vulnerability when that was highlighted on a Zoom app. Now, what was your stand? I mean, as Cisco, this would have been a lot of pressure on you because it's important that even a zero-day attack could bring a lot of pressure on you as a vendor. And because most of
Did we
We lose
lose?
Did we lose it?
I think we did. So maybe I'll start responding, and if there's another question, then I can add on.
Sure, that sounds good.
All right, for the benefit of the audience. So I think if you think about it, in the times of social distancing, a collaboration platform was the only way that we could connect with each other and work with each other. And with that, it is no surprise that all kinds of collaboration platforms, including WebEx, have seen a humongous growth in terms of their usage since the month of March. To give you some statistics, in the month of March, we had about 324 million users in that month on WebEx. September, we clocked 590. We're well on the way to clock over 600 million users in the month of October. So that's the kind of growth that we've seen. We've been experiencing about 25 billion minutes of meetings every month since March, since the month of April on WebEx platform. So there's been, so Darren, I see you're back. We lost you there for a minute, but I've started answering the question. In case there's something I don't cover, please remind me.
Sure.
So we've seen, like I said, a huge amount of growth in terms of traffic itself on WebEx. So that obviously came with a lot of preparation that we had to do, and in terms of beefing up the resources at the back end to make sure that we could support this capacity. And of course, in the months of March and April, there was a mad scramble at the back end. Again, the teams in WebEx did a great job in terms of trying to beef that up. But it's not just large enterprises that we've seen leveraging WebEx. Like I told you, I do my I do my fitness classes online. I take my guitar classes online. My daughter does her schools online. I'm sure that's pretty much the same situation elsewhere as well, even in Sri Lanka. And therefore, we've started to see a lot of small entrepreneurs, business people, as well as things like courts that we've enabled, schools, legislatures, and so on and so forth to leverage this platform. So we've had to have a continuous stream of development around specific features for these kind of uh, requirements. On the other hand, from a community point of view, WebEx has been pretty instrumental in helping frontline workers in managing the situation. In Sri Lanka alone, we've connected, I think, the Ministry of Health, along with the Medical Research Institute, um, the Government Medical Officers Association, the Infectious Diseases Hospital, and all of them get connected on this platform so that travel is not needed in order to manage the situation. So that said, I think from a platform point of view, that is just one of the platforms that we've started to see growth on. Because if you think about it, and Sujit spoke about this, it's around cloud. And what we're starting to see is consumers and users are looking at technologies that are, one, easy to deploy, easy to pay for, which is pay as you grow, and also easy to use and consume. So cloud delivered technologies are on the rise, and we're seeing uh, that growth in a lot of our platforms. So what we've done over the last 3 months or so, in fact, a couple of weeks back, we launched this in the Sri Lanka market. We call it our resilient distributed architecture, which is essentially a set of use cases that will allow organizations to to factor in all of the things that we've talked about so far in terms of ease of use, remote work, automation, AI, ML, everything coming together, as well as being able to secure everything. So just to give you a couple of examples, we've got a few products in there like SecureX, which allows you to consolidate the view from all of your security um, um, products inside of your organization, give you a single pane of glass to even detect unknown threats, give you a lot more visibility and analytics on these cases. On the other hand, we've also got some cloud delivered management solutions like Intersight Workload Optimizer, which allow you to take a look at your infrastructure, and they have predictive capabilities which also allow you to flag off in case, let's say you start seeing, let's say you have a server and you start seeing a slight error on the hard disk, it can allow you to raise an RMA proactively. So we're sort of focusing a lot more on things like visibility, analytics, and automation as a part of an entire portfolio to create platforms for our customers to, number one, consume and deploy easily.
I think I
think we lost him again.
Okay, while Alan comes back, right, I think there is a question, maybe all of us can collectively respond to it. The question says, high traffic hitting the website. So how did you cope up with the traffic? Did you have things in place? Anybody would like to take that question? I'm switching roles with that.
Well, I think actually it was actually directed to you.
I know. So maybe you all can Alan back.
so, Sujit, thank you so much for taking that forward. Yes, there has been a question. Hotspot, let's say, apologize for the interruption. But we have, I think, so we have seen high traffic during hitting the website. Now, We've seen this generally with a lot of supermarkets because as consumers, we're trying to purchase things during lockdown. We had limitations in terms of people taking orders, and we had to go through quite a lot as consumers. But having availability is one of the most important factor to ensure that your core services are available to your constituents. So how did you cope up, or how did you cope up? What was your strategy? Did you have things in place to ensure that your, I mean, your services are being available to the consumers?
Yes, I'm sure not only us, right? So almost all organizations, irrespective of whether they operate in the e-commerce platform or any other platform, they definitely would have seen a surge, not just the website, even to other platforms as well. So I guess it's much more than the availability here. We are not talking about business continuity. I think what organizations should be looking at going forward is resilience. It's like a human body, right? How resilient is our system to cope with any disease out there? Right? Even right now, when we step out, there's so many things out there, but then we are vulnerable only to specifics. So can we build an immune system? And I think that's what we as professionals, we as technology practitioners are talking about. So what kind of technology can we adopt, which can help us to function seamlessly? Now, Anand did mention about using AI, ML, so that even if there is an error in the hard disk, or even before it actually fails, you can automate RNA. That is, in other words, shipping a new hard disk into your facility. So I guess the technologists are also looking at building automation, building resilience. Organizations have started talking about resilient systems, resilient frameworks, and so on and so forth. So in order to answer the question specific, I guess that question probably at that point in time would have been very, very significant, but I guess we've overcome that challenge, right? So definitely we've looked at load balancing, we've looked at queuing of people, right? And so basically giving priority for first in, first come basis. So that's one of the things which I think we introduced. So bringing more sanity to the whole process. So I guess everyone should be looking at not just the BCP, but in terms of how do you build resilient systems.
It out very well. I mean, it's not just about a single service, but at the end of the day, resilience is something that we need to look as an organization, as community, to ensure that we fight back against threats. We do have limited time. We've just got 1 minute, but so we don't have any question. Yes, there are questions coming up. Okay. Okay. What kind of okay? There is a question. What kind of major IT during COVID-19, locally and worldwide? I think some of the things I did share right at the beginning about things, and also in terms of locally the threats, about things that reported to Sri Lanka CERT. Majority were scams and phishing, ransomware attacks. All of them did include. And we have another question. As a government, what are the initiative took to identify the critical assets as the first step of cyber security practice? That's a question that has been posted. I'm not sure who I can direct this to, but can we have either Loshan or Neil, any of you would like to take this forward?
I think the Sri Lanka CERT has already published Information and Cybersecurity Strategy of Sri Lanka 2019 to 2023. It's available in their website, so you can access it. It clearly lays down all the plans which they have for the next 2 to 3 years, right? So that is to answer the initiatives which the government is taking in terms of securing the cyberspace. There are a whole array of projects which are out there. I'm sure all of us have a role to play and ensure that the Sri Lankan cyberspace is secure.
Thank
if
you.
I'm not wrong, there's also the Sri Lanka cyber security bill that is in the works?
That's right.
Yes, thank you, Sujit. Thank you, Anand. Yes, indeed. We're still working on, as we know that as government sectors, things are not very straightforward. We've had when new government with new authorities come into place, there are changes that takes place. But yes, we're doing our best to have our bill passed quickly and also on our strategy, which we initiated in 2019. The projects have been initiated, so that things get better. And also, there's a lot that have been part of. For example, we are trying to identify critical infrastructures. We are doing a surveys to initiate that. We are also trying to see a level of information government organizations. So there has been a lot of background work that has been done, and most of them will be available to our constituents and also to public soon, with some good results. So with that, we do not have. I mean, we are end of the session, but I would like to recap a few things that has been sent by each and every panelist today. Starting off from Loshan, I mean, you spoke from a bank perspective, from a financial sector. He spoke over the challenges, and we need to accept that this was not something that was accepted, and we had to fight against. But I'm sure that companies out there will prepare themselves for the worst next time, because at the end of the day, services need to be provided to our customers. And also, Mr. Neil touched upon the preparedness, because homeschooling started all of. And but thanks to Education Ministry, we do also need to thank SLT and Dialogue for providing free data connection for eTaxalav and other platforms for those initiatives. And also, he also mentioned about the preparedness. For those who are not aware of, EduCert is something that has been established by Sri Lanka Cert, which is functioning virtually at the moment. So we've trained a lot of teachers. So those teachers have helped tremendously in terms of homeschooling, preparing the children in terms of cyber awareness. There has been a lot of groundwork that has been done in the past, and certainly they have helped in making the platform. Making children do the education safely with cautions. We also spoke. Stan and Patel, there were lovely things that you spoke in terms of how companies need to be agile, innovative. You cannot just depend on the service that you provide. Also, you've got to be innovative and agile in moving things forward. And also how you did see the challenges within as an organization, and also what you've seen around the globe. So that was interesting to note. And also, finally, Sujit Christie, thanks for highlighting about the work that has been done by Sri Lanka Sir, the initiative that has been. You spoke about challenges as a CISO, which was pretty much interesting, and we had a few other things as well. So with that, let me take the time to thank all the panelists once again. Thank you so much for accepting our invitations and being part of this session. There has been a bit of difficulties from our. I do apologize for any connection failures or delays to the audience. Thank you, Loshan, once again. Thank you, Mr. Neil Gunadasa, Sujit Christie, and Mr. Anand. Hope you have a good day. Thank you so much. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that comes to the. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our panel discussion for day one. So we do have another session this afternoon, and all those informations are available on our website, or www.sir.gov.lk/ecsw, or on our Facebook page. Let me not forget to thank our sponsors for providing us such a lovely platform to helping us to host this event. Our administrative task has been made very easier, so thank you once again. And also SLT Dialogue Mobitel for providing free data connection for all our participants who are watching this event live. And also Pure TV for streaming it live online. Thank you so much. Also, just to remind our audience, people out there, about a hacking challenge, which will be held tomorrow, 28th of October. So those who are registered, please be there on time, and further notification information will be provided to our email. So with that, that's the end of day one and session one, and I hope to be connected at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, guys.